All right, so this is going to be our second set of economics questions. All right, number one. Which of these best reflects how the federal government manages the economy through fiscal policy? In other words, how does the government control the economy? What do they do? Um, is it taxing and spending? A. Maybe. B. Controlling. Or, sorry. B. Buying and selling securities? No, they don't do that. C. Controlling the money supply. All right. Um, Possibly. Um, D. Controlling interest rates. Again, for this one, I'm gonna be honest with you. It could be. This one's kind of vague. It could be a lot of them. Um, the answer choice they give is going to be C, which would be controlling the money supply. In other words, if they require banks to have a higher percentage of their a higher ratio of money on hand, so that they can't loan so much out, it does slow the economy down. Okay. All right. Number two. All right. The headline here: United States sets high taxes on imported lumber. Why would they do this? All right. First of all, what is this? This is a tariff. Okay, on something that's imported. Okay. So the reason that they would do this is obviously they're trying to protect the U.S. lumber industry. So it would be B. All right, which of these actions by the federal government would most likely reduce inflation? Okay, so inflation means that things are getting more expensive. Okay, now inflation occurs when we've got a lot of money and we're making it really, really easy to spend that money. So when people are spending money, we're going to see inflation. Okay, so increasing both spending and money supply is actually going to increase inflation. So it's not going to be A. B, decreasing spending and money supply. That Number four, the 1980s, the U.S., some European countries, and the United Nations banned the trade of certain goods and services to South Africa. The policy was in response to the South African laws which enforced racial segregation. Which of these best describes this action towards South Africa? A. The use of diplomacy to gain military strength. Well, it has nothing to do with military strength or really diplomacy. B. The use of free trade to build military alliances. Again, we're not building a military alliance. C. The use of humanitarian aid to win political support. We didn't offer humanitarian aid. D. The use of economic sanctions to bring about social change. Okay, we quit doing business with them, and it caused them to change their social policies. That's the definition of what D is right there. So the answer is D. Number five, continued rise in unemployment rate leads Federal Reserve to increase money supply. All right, so what is the best reason for the Federal Reserve's action? All right, if they're going to increase money supply, it means one, they're going to allow the banks to loan out more, and at the same time, they're going to lower interest rates. Okay, both of these things right here will encourage businesses to spend more money. It's just cheaper to spend more money. So they'll spend more money, and when businesses spend more money, it allows them to expand. And if a business expands, they have to hire more people. Okay, so this could help with the unemployment rate. This would be B. Make it easier for businesses to borrow money to expand. Number six. All right, up here, these are instruments of the Federal Reserve System. All right, interest rate. Interest rate changed or charged to banks by other banks or Federal Reserve. Okay, reserve requirements. Requirements on the amount of funds banks must hold in reserve against deposits. In other words, how much of your money that you deposit in the bank does the bank actually have to have? Okay. Open market operations, the buying and selling of U.S. government securities in the open market. Okay. Based on the chart, which of these would be a result of open market operations? Okay. So something that we would do because of or would happen because of open market operations by the Federal Reserve System. A. Interest rates on loans decrease. Okay, that would be on the interest rate instrument, not open market operations, so we can eliminate that one. B. New types of currency are created. Again, that's not going to be it. C. Operating hours for banks change. That has nothing to do with it. Or D. The size of the money supply changes. If the government buys securities from people, they are pumping more money back into the economy. If they sell securities, they're pulling money out of the economy. So it is going to be D. The size of the money supply changes. Number seven. Which of these is the main economic cost of the federal government removing taxes on imported goods? So, what's going to happen if the government does not put tariffs on things that are imported? Okay, is this going to be A, a decline in the number of people who visit the United States? No. B, a reduction in the number of countries willing to trade with the U.S.? Absolutely not. More countries will trade with us. C, a reduction in the ability of the U.S. businesses to compete with foreign companies? That's what it's going to be right there. If we remove tariffs, foreign countries can lower their prices, and that makes it harder for U.S. businesses to compete. Number 8, which of these is an economic benefit of the government providing unemployment payments to people who have lost their jobs? Or is it going to be tax rates decline? Yeah, tax rates will decline a little bit, but by the same token, that's not a benefit to anybody at that point. B, consumer spending levels will remain stable. Let's hold on to that one. C, job opportunities for younger workers increase. No, unemployment's unemployment, regardless of whatever age you are. D, businesses have fewer people to choose from when hiring new employees. No, it's not the case. All right, it's going to be that consumer spending levels remain stable. If people are getting unemployment benefits, even though they've lost their job, they can still, somewhat afford to take care of themselves until they can find another job. So you don't see, if a large group of people lose money at the same, or lose their jobs at the same time, you don't see this huge drop off in consumer spending. All right, which of these is a goal of the U.S. government in stabilizing the economy? A, increase the national debt. That's not something they want to do, but they keep doing it. B, decrease the unemployment rate. That sounds like something they would like to do. C, increase the consumer price index. In other words, make things more expensive. And no, they don't want to do that. D, decrease the gross domestic product. No, they want to increase it. They want to, build our economy up. So it's going to be B, to decrease the unemployment rate. Number 10, the basic economic questions in the United States are answered mainly by who? In other words, what are they going to produce, and how many are they going to produce, and how much are they going to sell it for? And this is simple. In our free market economy, that is the individual. Okay? I might not decide, how much Ford is going to charge for a truck or how many trucks they're going to make. However, if I can't afford their truck and don't buy it, and my peers do the same thing, can't afford their truck and don't buy it, Ford is faced with, the fact that they have to produce less and lower the price. In which case, as an individual, I'm the one answering these questions. A. All right, number 11. This photograph is of a 1936 project. This is the Bonneville Power and Navigation Dam. Okay, how did projects such as the one in the photograph signal a shift in United States domestic policy? Let's start by taking note of the fact this is 1936. This is the heart of the Great Depression. Okay, and the government is spending money like crazy to create jobs. Okay, so A, let's look at here. The government began addressing safety concerns. There's nothing to do with safety about this. Let's remove A. B, the government began confronting labor shortages. It's the Great Depression. There's unemployed people everywhere. It's not that. B. Okay, C, the government began accumulating debt to ease economic difficulties. Okay, so the government went into debt to start projects like this to help out the average person. That's what it's going to be. Okay, also, we call this deficit spending. Okay, so you know that if government spends more than it takes in, it does it in an instance like this, trying to create jobs and grow the economy. All right, how did the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887 signal a departure from the laissez-faire capitalism? Now let's remember, laissez-faire, okay, that's hands off. All right, we had a strict government, no involvement whatsoever in business. Okay, but the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887, we gave the government the power, the federal government, the power to regulate business between states. Okay, in this case, it's going to be A. It curbed the power of railroads through regulation. In other words, it took some power away from the railroad companies because they had to start following federal laws. Number 13. All right, this President Jimmy Carter made this statement in 1978. I want to have a frank talk with you tonight about our most serious domestic problem. That problem is inflation. Inflation can threaten all the economic gains we have made. Based on this excerpt, Which policy did President Carter endorse to address this concern? In other words, what would he do to fix this? All right. A, raising import tariffs. If we raise import tariffs, it's only going to allow people to keep prices higher. So that's not going to do anything. B, reducing income taxes. All right, if we reduce income taxes, we put more money in the hands of our consumers, and they then spend this money. And as we know, when people spend money, prices go up, inflation increases. It's not that. C, reduce deficit spending. In other words, cut back on government spending that we've been spending to try to stimulate the economy. Let's hold on to that one. D, raising defense expenditures. Again, if we're spending money, prices go up, and so does inflation. It's going to be C. All right, the government had been spending a lot of money. Matter of fact, the government had been spending more money than it was taking in. This is a deficit, and they had done it to try to stimulate the economy. Well, now at this point, there's a horrible problem with inflation, and one of the ways that you combat inflation is you slow your economy down. In this case, that would require where he was advocating reducing deficit spending. All right, number 14. The laissez-faire economic philosophy promoted by the U.S. during the 19th century resulted in what? Cooperative government and industry projects being encouraged? No. Industrial workers being guaranteed fair wages. Under a laissez-faire system, industrial workers are basically at the mercy of their employer. C, small companies generally being protected against unfair. Nobody's protecting anybody. It's laissez-faire, hands off. D, business owners being allowed to operate their business without government interference. Well, if laissez-faire means hands off, that means no government interference. It's going to be D. All right. Direction of volume of U.S. world trade. Okay. Now it sits here and it tells you what percentage, of our trades going, and it tells you which direction. So according to the map above, in 1969, the largest importer of U.S. products was who? Okay, so who are we sending the most to? Well, that would be this arrow on the right-hand side pointing towards Western Europe. That's the highest percentage. Okay, so it'll be Western Europe, B. All right, number 16. How would an extended recession in the U.S. likely affect international economies? We have the largest economic system in the world. Because of this, anytime we have trouble, they have trouble too. Okay, so it's going to be an international economies may also fall into recession. That's going to be A.